Hi ladies and gentlemen, I'm coming to you with a video about functions. Functions is probably one of the biggest objectives that you guys are going to uncover during your 8th grade math year. Let's talk about what a function is. A function is a relationship between x and y where there can only be one x for every one y. When I'm talking about x and y's, guys, I'm talking about x and y's being ordered pairs that you would graph on the coordinate plane. You guys know that when you have a coordinate plane, you would travel on the x-axis first, which runs left and right, and then up and down on the y-axis second, and then you would plot your point on where it lies on the coordinate plane. Guys, when you're talking about functions, functions can have many different names. So you see I've got my x and my y labeled, and I've got some places where I'm going to write some names for each, for what a function pair is, okay? First thing that you might see for a function, especially in 8th grade, is that the x value is called the domain, and the y value is called the range. Second set of names that you could see for x and y is that x could be called the input, and that y is then called the output. Third set of names, guys, that you could see for x and y as an ordered pair could be the independent variable, and then y would in turn be called the dependent variable. Okay, guys, I'm not sure which sets of names they use for functions on Odysseyware, so I wanted to make sure that we've been exposed to all. And guys, they come in this very specific pairs that I gave you: domain and range, input and output, and independent and dependent variable. Okay. So guys, there are two types of functions that you need to make sure that you're aware of. You have functions that are linear, which mean that they make a straight line. And then you have some functions that are nonlinear, which means they don't make a straight line, but they're still functions. I'll be able to tell you in just a second how you can differentiate between just a squiggle and an actual function, okay? You can always, guys, tell which graph is really a function through what is called the vertical line test. The vertical line test means that you'll look at your function. You can tell right here, this is my coordinate plane, and this is my data. This is supposed to be my function that's running left and right across the y-axis and parallel to the x-axis. So what you want to do to figure out whether or not the data that's on the coordinate plane really is a function is just draw a line through the data. And if your line that you draw touches the data once, it's a function. So I'm going to draw a line straight through the middle of the data. And the line that I drew through the data only hits the data once. So yes, this is a function. Okay, let's look at some other ones and see if they're functions. Here I've got some data on the coordinate plane. The data makes a complete circle. So when I draw my line through the data, the line that I drew hit the data 1, 2 times. Remember, if the line that you draw through the data hits more than once, it is not a function. So since this hits twice, no, this is not a function. Let's look at this graph right here. You see the data is kind of scattered all over the coordinate plane, but we're trying to figure out whether or not it's a function. When I draw a line through this coordinate, it only hits it once. But when I draw a line again through these coordinates, it hits both coordinates twice. So if asked if this were a function, I would say no, because I drew one line, and yes, it only hit it once, but I see that these coordinates are stacked on top of each other. If you're able to hit any of the data more than one time when you draw a line vertically down through the middle, then no, it's not a function. So this one's not a function. Okay. Guys, the next thing I want to do is make sure that you understand that functions can be written one of two ways. You see I got the same function, but they've got different beginnings. Functions can either begin with f of x equals, or they can begin with y equals. Y equals is the most popular way that you'll see a function be written, and we also call this slope, which I believe is in the next objective after this one. Guys, there's one thing that you need to know about functions is that your x in your function needs to have an exponent of 1, because when it has an exponent of 1, you can guarantee that you'll have a function. If x is being raised to the second power, then you may not have a function. Okay? Guys, something else you need to know about x and y is that x is called an independent variable for a reason. It kind of controls what happens to y. That's why y kind of depends on x. So I always call x the parent and y the child. Okay? So when you're looking at a function table, there can only be one x for every one y. So what I'm saying is, when I'm looking through my ordered pairs, y can repeat as many times as it likes, but there should only be one x for every one y. So if you're looking at this table and you got the coordinates 0, -3, 1, -3, 2, -3, and 3, -3, this is a function. And the reason that it is because none of your x values are repeating. Y's are repeating, but y's are okay. X's cannot repeat. Let's look at this function table here, because function tables can be written all sorts of ways. When I group my ordered pairs together, I have 2, 9, 3, 11, and 6, 2. None of my x values are repeating, so we're safe to say that this is also a function. Let's look at this one down here. Notice, guys, this time I called this input and output. You know, input as x and output as y. Okay? When I look at all of my x values, I've got -2, 1, 2, and 2. 2 is your x value, and 2 cannot be paired with both 7 and 9. So if asked if this were a function, I would say no, it's not, because your x value of 2 and 2 is repeating. It's being paired with more than one y value. The last way, guys, you could see functions be written is what's called in a mapping diagram. Okay? And guys, it's the same thing as what's in a function table. All you have to do is see how x's and y's are being paired together to see whether or not you have a function. So when I'm looking at 3, 3 is being paired with 9, so my coordinate is 3, 9. 4 is being paired with 11, so that's 4, 11. 5 with 2, and 7 with 5. None of the x values repeat. Yes, this is a function. Let's look at the next one. 1, 2 is an ordered pair. 4, 5 is an ordered pair. 4, 1 is an ordered pair. And 5, 3 is an ordered pair. Do you have any x values repeating? 4 and 4 repeats. So since these are your x values and they're being paired with more than one y value, no, this is not a function. Alright, guys, I hope that this video you find helpful about functions. It's a very, very highly tested objective in 8th grade math. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.